Alright, on to the last disaster trial. The one with the Fallacy. So for Fallacy, it summons a boss when its HP reaches a certain threshold. And the bosses, while it sounds scary to fight two bosses at the same time, is actually not too bad, especially with Brent always being in the air. The only thing you want to watch out for is mostly the Fallacy attacks, which has quite a large AoE radius and hitbox, so that some attacks, like for example the not the overhead slam, the upper swing can hit Brent while he's in the air. But we'll talk more about it during the game itself. As for this one, because the trial Resonators, Brent and Changli, they both like being in the air. So actually taking this thing on the ground one is much better because if they are in the air, this is essentially a free debuff that you can just take. Alternatively, if you are not using trial Resonators and your character doesn't really go into mid-air often, you can just take this one. For the other stress modules options, I like picking Resonance Liberation cooldown by 300%, but then when dealing damage, I have my cooldown reduced by 1 second. So as long as you're constantly dealing damage, your Resonance Liberation will come back really quickly. In addition, when you do a dodge, like a dodge with the slow-mo, your Resonance Liberation cooldown is also triggered. So honestly, having this one with extra cooldown makes your Resonance Liberation come back a lot faster. Then because we are not really having any coordinated attacks with the trial Resonators, so that's why it doesn't make too much of a sense to pick this one unless you are using your own Verena. So that's why using this is much better. For this one, honestly, I prefer to use heavy attack because Resonance skill is utilized much more often on Brent when you want to get him off the ground. It's either you jump or you use the skill, and so does Changli. Changli also will use Resonance skill 2 times. So if you cast too many times without clearing this glacial debuff, you get frozen, and when you're frozen, you can get hit, which is not what you want. So therefore, I'm going with the heavy attack. And as for this one, if you have characters like Carthethia and Phoebe, then you might not want to pick this one because you're gonna get the negative status back on yourself. This one would be much better if you have these have Carthethia on your team, or anyone who inflicts negative status like Jacona, like BB, like Spectral Rover. Otherwise, you can actually pick this, and this will be another free debuff. And as usual, the 500% HP and increase in attack by 150. For the stress modules, I'm using the one that they recommended. Now here was doing the 34 stress runs to quickly get to this 37. I used Brent, Shopkeeper and Sanhua, which is honestly a pretty good and fast team. But if you don't have these characters, then you're kind of like stuck with these trial Resonators. You can use Brent, Changli and Shopkeeper. So for this team, I like to start with Shopkeeper first. Then I use a ulti, a skill, then Echo. After that, I swap to Brent. Brent ulti, and as he comes in ulti, hold down the attack button, just spin, fill up his entire 40 gauge, do his 40, then forte, then swap out to Changli. As Changli comes in, use her ulti, and then after that, remember to do one attack because she has a true sight which enhances her attack, and it will help stack 1 gauge. Then use a skill, attack again, use a skill, attack again, and then she'll have 3 bars filled before swapping over to Shopkeeper. And that's pretty much for the first rotation. From the second rotation onwards, it's pretty much the same, except that you want to see if you can get Chang-Li's 4 bars out. If you find yourself in a tight spot, just throw down her ulti and get those few iframes, because it's much more worth it to stay alive rather than to force out a rotation. Remember, this is a marathon. There's no timer for say, oh, beat this in 5 minutes to get something extra. There's none of that. So stay alive. Just stay alive. Alright, let's now start the fight. I'll explain more during the fight. The ulti skill echo to Brand. Ulti, watch out for this overhead swing, or this really wide swing, because it can hit Brand while he's in the air. And then you might want to watch out for this shoulder check as well, because this shoulder check can also hit you while you're in the air. When the other boss spawns in, you want to focus the other boss down, because when Thetis summons other bosses, he gains a lot of shield, and only by defeating these bosses you can remove his shield. When you're on to your next rotation, remember to dodge counter. Dodge counter is your best friend in this fight because of the ridiculously long cooldown. And one dodge counter removes around 33% of your cooldown, resonance liberation cooldown. So you just want to hit as many dodge counters as possible, especially when you're with Shopkeeper. That's not the target I want this one. So what I did there is I charge up Brand's forte gauge a little bit more so that I can do his double forte in a bit. So the double forte allows me to increase my DPS even further. But if you're not comfortable like doing this double forte thing, that's okay. Just stick to one. Just stick to one and it's just fine. Also, you might actually not want to fight too near the walls because of, well, camera problems. Go on, hit me. Ah, not like that. Oop. Forte, ulti, and forte again. Now to focus on the Inferno Rider. Okay, now that my stamina is a bit low, I'll let my stamina regen first. So I think a good time to let your stamina regen is when you see it at around like maybe 2-3 bars. You want to save like at least 2 bars just in case if you need to dodge.
入力。
エピックショット。この俺にこの程度の荒波、この程度の荒波、クライマックスだ。
Oh, did I mention that? I don't think I did. So one thing about SS is that
任せて。
you can survive at least one fatal hit.
烈火のきらめき。
Because SS pretty much allows you to allows you to take one fatal hit without dying. It just sets your HP at 1, and that's pretty much what it does.
より盛大に演技もお手の物さ。
終わりにする。神聖を授ける。
If you realize that I didn't really take too much damage over there, it's because dodge counter, dodging gives you the iframe, yes. And during the counter itself, aka that dodge counter frame, you also get some iframes. So you could technically use that extra iframes to do dodge counter to charge up your liberation.
カゴの中の鳥は誰？断ち切る。火の雨。ついのちりを告げる。降り注ぐ。アド、アストラ。入力。
アジは俺に任せろ。さあ、耳を澄ませ。演技もお手の物さ。
大損傷。
Dodge and dodge. That was a little bit close.
クライマックスだ。俺の勝利だ。
任せて。正確に。バレバレよ。カゴの中の鳥は誰？終わりにする。星の歌よ。
Don't know what's going on, but first thing to do is to get out of this corner.
火の低下。
アジは俺に任せろ。さあ。この程度の荒波。面白い。
終わりにする。神聖を授ける。
Heal up and back to brand. Ulti and straight away Forte. No wait. Forte then straight away ulti. And then back to Changli.
神にも劣らぬ。逃げ切れるかな。対のちりを告げる。
Pew. Pew. No, you were not supposed to get staggered here. So once you get the last boss, the impermanence Heron down, it should become a lot easier to deal with because you have one less boss and it's pretty much just
抹消。
Static System himself at this point in time. With not a lot of HP left. So just continue with your rotation and you do just fine.
これが心。
Okay.
握手ね。
Not exactly the grandest of finishes, but okay.
今こそ
But yes, that is
盛大な完成と
Virtual
拍手
Crisis, or that is
キャプテン
System.
ブラント君に心から敬意を捧げよう
What a majestic fella. And with that, we have completed all 148 stress levels of this Virtual Crisis. Hopefully you have found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy gaming, Rovers. Goodbye. Goodbye.